Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up. XRP tapped by credit unions. You heard that right. Earn XRP yield equals 20%. Oh, the yield wars. Prepare for the biggest breakout in crypto history. And somebody wrote that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and DigPerspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $3.87 trillion market cap for cryptocurrency. The market's off by 5.5 right now. Everything's bleeding a little bit. Ethereum's holding its own, but it's been down for a long time. So God bless them. 3,600 for them. 115 plus for Bitcoin. XRP number 3 spots, $3.06. Now, I got Mrs. Backup in the other room. She could probably, can you hear me, Mrs. Backup? I don't think she can hear me. Well, she can't hear me, so then I'm going to go ahead and tell you. I'm probably going to buy the dip again. It won't be a lot, but at 306, I can't help it. I think I might be doing, $50 all through the weekend just to discipline if it goes down, because usually the price will lay down on the weekend, right? So maybe we even get to 290 or so. I don't know what it'll do because I'm not worried about it. I know where we're going. And I think you do too, but I'll be buying that dip. You can bet on it. I bought it yesterday a little bit. Right here, ranging between 305 and 326. You can see we're on the lower side of that range. So it may be buying time again for Bradley as we move into the weekend. Right here is Caleb and Brown and where I may do it, in fact. So you could do it too. It's the crypto brokerage right here. Open your free account. All you have to do is go to xrpwealth589.com. That's easy to remember. xrpwealth589.com. Open your free account just like we did and get all the same benefits and perks that we do. No hidden fees, no spreads, free institutional grade custody, no charge, one flat rate. You get multiple layers of security as you would expect. And you get a level of white glove human customer service that I have never experienced on a crypto platform to date. That's a fact, Jack. So all I'm telling you is offer yourself the same opportunity. And you can even, with that human customer service, set and make sure that your market orders are set correctly. You could set exit prices for your short-term bags if you want. That way that price is already in. You won't have to worry about exchange freezing up on you like some others do. That's the kind of benefits you get. Not to mention, you could put special restrictions on your account. You could put added security features if you'd like. I mean, this is the kind of level of service that I'm looking for in this space that has been absent for a very long time. Prepare for liftoff. Tether just minted 2 billion USDT. Now, we know what happens after they mint Tether. Bitcoin ends up going up. So brace yourself. It's coming. It's coming. And Wall Street giant Citi forecast Bitcoin to hit 135,000 by the end, and that's end of the year, a year end, and that's a base case. And their bull case is 199K, fueled by ETF demand, user growth, and macro trends, and the fact that Tether just printed 2 billion USDT. I thought I'd throw that in. Listen, let's talk about this. I covered this yesterday, and I've covered it in the past. Back in November, December. But I think this is a very, very real conversation that needs to start happening at a larger scale. And it is the idea that we abolish income tax and capital gains altogether and move to a fair use tax. Think of this for a moment. Let's move to a fair use tax. Only pay taxes on what you purchase. It's the perfect tax structure for instant payments on immutable ledgers like DLT and blockchain. The US government and governments around the world, merchants, and the consumer all get the product, service, and good that they want, and the tax collection is immediate at the point of sale. This would accelerate the velocity of money, and it would actually, I think, add up to more tax collection and more spending because people would have more of their own dollars. That's what we need to get back to. And I think with this new innovation and technology and payment protocols, Obviously, we can do this. We're moving to a digital on-chain economy. So let's make the tax immediate at point of sale and eliminate all this ridiculous, antiquated ways of trying to steal our money from us. What do you think? And how about this with the innovation of this technology and the emerging innovation out here? Could it, in fact, disrupt IPOs? Could tokenization become the death of IPOs? Take a listen.
I think long term, if this private market develops in this way that people are describing, where more people have access to the private market, that the public and private markets converge.
My personal view is that it's more likely to converge. So, for instance, we have Tape D, which is the Nasdaq private market, does facilitate private company transactions, give investors better disclosures and
so that's directly competing with all of these new companies that are talking about the tokenization and
we do it in connection with the companies. So that is a kind of a different way to approach the problem. And those are for accredited investors.
And it's interesting because this is a good statement right here. If we're totally cool with people trading equity in private companies, remember, you're probably a private company holder. If you're watching this, you're trying to research, do I take, something I'm doing on chain? If all of this starts to happen, where private and public start to converge, like what the CEO of NASDAQ is alluding to, this could be the death of IPOs.
Think of that for a moment. Tokenization is disrupting everything, and in a good way. It means it'll be a more efficient way to raise capital if it ends up being the death of IPOs. And let me tell you something else. Let's take down that private accredited wall, because everyone should be able to invest in private equity, right? Absolutely tear that wall down, because it's okay for any one of us to go to a casino and ruin our lives by betting your life away on random machines and poker tables or whatever. Give the rest of us access to the private markets. I mean, I know I'm accredited, but I'm talking about everybody who isn't. That should be a rule that's abolished. And tokenization just may be that innovation that forces the change in that rule for all of us. How great that would be. Now let's listen to this. This is Sergey Nazarov from Chainlink. Shout out to him. And he talks about the effects of more real-world assets getting tokenized on chains. And now I want you to listen to the way he says this, because it ties into exactly what we've talked about so far in this video.
If all the tokenized assets after stablecoins, if all the tokenized funds, if all the tokenized real estate, if all the tokenized commodities, if all the tokenized equities, if all the tokenized non-currency, non-crypto things, which is, by the way, the majority of everything, if all of that gets tokenized predominantly outside the US, then people forcing others to buy and settle and purchase those assets in non-US dollar denominated payment methods on a blockchain, the likelihood of that rises. If all the assets, the best tokenized funds, the best tokenized equities, best tokenized commodities, best tokenized versions of every asset is issued from the US financial system, then the likelihood that the US dollar gets used to buy them goes up very high, and much higher than otherwise. And really, even the US financial system could gain market share in that scenario.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so this is the scenario that we've painted to people in Washington and explained to them. This is also the scenario we've explained to people in other parts of the world. As more and more global trade, as more and more assets go on chain, and more transaction volume is done on chain, governments will compete with each other for the use of their currency as the method of settlement on a blockchain. And that will be a new arena in which they need to win.
There it is. There it is right there. It's exactly what we've talked about, right? Well, let's get to this now. Look at the expansion coming here. Christie's International Real Estate becomes the first major U.S. luxury brokerage to launch a dedicated crypto real estate division, allowing buyers to purchase properties entirely with cryptocurrency, per the New York Times. Look, again, that's what all this legislation's about. The Genius Act, the Clarities Act, right? We got to get that market infrastructure bill passed right away, because it's about securing the US dollar dominance in the new digital on-chain economy. And the more they bring on the tokenization of the financial legacy world, the more they'll have control. Remember what Cristiano Carlos said a long time ago, he who has the gold makes the rules, but he who controls the payment rails runs the world. Now, we're quickly approaching that moment where that competition to have your dollar be the dominant dollar on the most used and trusted protocols for the world in the new digital on-chain economy. This is the moment we're in, and things are happening quickly, and you're about to see just how quickly. Wellgistics Health, leading health tech firm, has filed an S-1 form with the SEC outlining plans to deepen its use of XRP and the XRP ledger for real-time payment solutions. Check this out. Bill Morgan says, what I've gathered from reading the S-1 is this. This is a summary of what the filing revealed. Wellgistics is not only planning to hold XRP as a treasury reserve, it plans to implement a payment solution leveraging XRP Ledger to facilitate low-cost real-time payments between Wellgistics, its pharmacy customers, and its manufacturer and vendor partners. This is real business utility for the XRP Ledger. Wellgistics also intends to issue equity or debt securities or other capital raising to use the proceeds to purchase more XRP, meaning issuing either a bond or a stock in order to accumulate more XRP. It's the MicroStrategy plan. Wellgistics also intends to use its XRP holdings as collateral for capital raising transactions. This is also a reference to Wellgistics using its XRP holdings to create income streams. In short, using XRP as a reserve asset to earn income, to use it as collateral, and use it for payments all in one, XRP will be working hard for Wellgistics, but they say XRP has no utility. Well, Aave coming to the XRP ledger is about to bring some more accessibility and interoperability. Super excited about that.
What is the likelihood of having XRP and Solana within the Aave ecosystem?
Wrapping these assets in having them on EVM, that's the kind of like a short-term, I would say, path. But I would like to see, as part of my kind of idea of having Aave everywhere, seeing Aave also down the line on Solana and in the Ripple ecosystem. And Aave already has the biggest pool for RL USD. So that has been a really significant accomplishment.
That is alone would probably supercharge what you guys are doing in terms of just exposure.
I think that's spot on. Shout out to Paul Barron. Then there's this. I have to give a special shout out to Matt Hogan from Bitwise, who in this conversation with Kyle Chase and James Seifert, who absolutely try to cloak the hatred they have for XRP, let alone their own ignorance. And I'm happy to speak to either one of you gentlemen and get that gone for you. But Matt Hogan tells him a little bit about what he knows because he was just at XRP Las Vegas 2025. Take a listen to this clip.
If you had a Solana and XRP approval, both of them on the same day, which one would get more flows?
Oh, great question. James, you go first.
No. So, okay. I will say this. We had a kind of a situation like this where we had futures Solana ETFs and leverage futures or derivatives based ETFs that have exposure to Solana launch before the XRP versions. And the XRP versions have got more assets and flows than the Solana version. So, but that said, like the derivatives based products are nowhere near as high in the list of demand for investors as the spot products would be. We do have a pseudo spot product from Rex Osprey that went through a whole bunch of loopholes and end arounds to try and get exposure to spot Solana with staking. That's also done very well. I think in the near term, I would bet on XRP, but over the long term, I'd probably bet on Sol getting more assets on that side of things, just because, like you kind of mentioned, like anyone I know who doesn't really know this space.
Now listen what he says. Now, anyone I know doesn't really know this space, so he's getting ready to discredit anyone who likes XRP.
Detail out there, if you go on TikTok or any of these other things in social media
TikTok
platforms, they're talking about XRP and Ripple. more so than pretty much anything else. So they have like a really good ground game going.
We got good ground game. You know what you got? You know why we got good ground game, James? It's because we got good game, period, brother. Try doing some research, man. Try that for once. Because the reality is, you go look at the patent for the DTCC, you'll see Stellar and XRP in it, not Bitcoin. You go look and see who's partnered with FedNow for the United States of America back-end banking system. It's Ripple, not Bitcoin or Ethereum. Let's keep going.
On Reddit, it's the same thing. Like the ground game is unreal. So yeah, I guess I would say that, but I don't know. It's you're completely guessing at that point. But from an institutional point of view, from my experience in talking to people in this space and people just tangentially interested in what's going on, there seems to be a lot more serious people looking at Solana. That's not to say there's no serious people looking at Ripple or XRP, but definitely.
Oh, after all his disclaimer and passive dumping and throwing shade on us, it's not to say that there aren't some other people. I tell you, it's hard to watch these. It's hard to watch.
Definitely leans Solana or Ethereum from my point of view.
Yeah.
Now it's Matt's turn.
I actually agree. I think XRP would do better out of the gate. I think the average opinion of Solana is better than it is for XRP across crypto investors. But that's not who buys the ETF on day one.
Exactly.
It's the passion, right? And so there are, I went to an XRP conference in Vegas on a Saturday. There were 1,200 people in the room. Every seat was taken. That's crazy. Try to get that in a TradFi conference. No one's going on a Saturday.
He's absolutely right. And I tell you what, we're going to smash those numbers for 2026. Look, this is what's incredible to me. First of all, shout out to Matt for giving us the nod like that and recognizing where we are. But the truth of the matter is that Kyle Chase and James Seifert are so far into Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solana and whatever other VC pumped projects they're into because they're the obvious pump. That I get that, but at the end of the day, they would be doing themselves a real good service to go look up the DTC patent, right, with XRP and Stellar in it. They would do well to understand that the acquisition of Hidden Road and the recent approval and licensure to help settle that 100 trillion at the DTCC by Ripple's recently acquired Hidden Road. They would do well to go look and see Pat Thielen from Ripple on the U.S. Faster Payments Council to help create the new FedNow payment system. You think Ripple's on there and they're not going to use Ripple's stack? Look, a little research goes a long way. That's where I'll leave this for that. But let's keep going here. I don't get my needle stuck. And shout out to Bitwise and Matt Hogan for the shout out. Look at this breaking news. Watch out, world. You can now invest in digital assets like XRP in the CutX mobile app. Here comes XRP to credit union members in Texas. Uh-oh. We're excited to bring XRP directly to credit union members. Now available for purchase and sale right within their direct-to-member app, powered by Bank Social. Things are changing, ladies and gentlemen. Remember the CFPB document where it said credit unions and banks can use virtual currency XRP for settlement? This is different. This is about buying it and allowing their members to buy it through their app. But we're getting there. We're getting there. When legislation becomes law, a lot of these people are going to find out that they've been talking and edifying about a space that will no longer exist. And a lot of Bitcoin, Ethereum maxis and such are going to find out this realization. They're going to find out at the end of the day that they have been edifying about a speculative market that is no longer speculative. It will be utility driven. And if they don't change their narrative, they will find out that they are beautifully equipped for a world that doesn't exist anymore. Retail XRP holders could soon earn 20% yield on their tokens. Tell me more, ladies and gentlemen. Tell me more. DeFi and yield are the next wave of adoption. It will unlock the largest idle liquidity pool in digital assets. It's XRP, baby. That's what I'm talking about. And what they're saying here is that there's a company out right here called More Markets has launched an XRP Earn account, allowing retail investors to access yield strategies traditionally reserved for institutions. The new product enables XRP holders to earn yield while retaining self-custody, addressing the lack of native staking or yield infrastructure for XRP. Security audits have been completed and the platform supports simple onboarding, aiming to expand, other digital assets and real-world yield strategies in the future. So, with that being said, I don't try out these new platforms that I don't know about, but it's out here and it's going to continue to proliferate and expand and grow. And I can't wait for it to come to the trusted places like the exchanges that I use or the platform like iTrust or Caleb and Brown or Uphold. And when these things come to those trusted places that I already use, and someday it'll be at banks very soon, everyone will be locking up their assets to earn that yield. And that will help to create a very, very stable value for the asset while the financial world uses it and drives the value through the roof over time. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.